Note 0.8 equations. We will be multiplying or dividing the coefficient. So the first three steps from yesterday, again, we're going to do it at a later time, which is going to be during Module 4. Right now, we are just making sure we can actually solve when we have a constant and a coefficient, and then we got to check your work. So first, you always want to add or subtract to move the constant, and again, that's the number that's with the variable. And then you want to multiply or divide to move the coefficient, and that's the number that's attached to the variable. Okay, so you always want to do moving the constant first, and then moving the coefficient second. And remember, when you do solving stuff, you're always trying to do the opposite of what you see in order to solve. So before we get started, let's look at these two equations and let's identify the constant and the coefficient. So in this first example here, which one is the constant? Number 5 here is the constant, right? It's the number that's with the variable. Which one's the coefficient here? Good. Number 2 is the coefficient. It is the number that is attached to the variable. This number 11, since it's not with the variable or attached to the variable, we don't really have to label it. Now let's look at let's look at the second example I have here. So in 12 equals negative 3 plus 5x, which one is the coefficient? All right, so in this one, the 5 is the coefficient because it's the number attached to the variable. Now let's figure out which one is the constant. All right, negative 3 is the constant, is the number that is with the variable. All right, so let's go through a few examples. So looking at number 1 here, you want to get into the habit of labeling your constant and coefficient until you really get a handle of the difference and knowing which one is which. Remember, you always want to draw your balance bar. This is where your equal signs will go because it's going to help you to remember if you do something on one side of the equation, you have to do it on the other side of the equation. So we have x over 5 plus 7 equals 10. 7 is my constant because the number with the variable. The fraction bar with the 5, that's your coefficient because it is attached to the x. And remember, a fraction bar means division. From our steps here, you always want to first add or subtract to move your constant. So if I have a plus 7, I'm going to minus that 7 on both sides. These 7s cancel out because they're opposites. Then I do 10 minus 7 in my calculator or off the top of my Chrome Dome, and we get the number 3. We bring down the x over 5, so we have x over 5. Again, remember, the fraction bar means division. We've talked about this a lot. If I have a dividing by 5, the opposite of that, so I can get rid of it, is going to be multiplying by 5. And if you multiply by 5 on one side, you have to multiply by 5 on the other side. These 5s cancel out, and we're left with 3 times 5, which gives us 15. All we have left on the left side here is this x, and so we drop it down. All right, because our goal is to isolate the variable. The variable wants to be alone. It doesn't like the other numbers, so it's trying to get everybody to the other side away from it. Now we go back and check our work. So now we should know x equals 15. So I'm going to replace this x with a 15, which is what I did. And all I can do here, if you want to do the long way using your order of operations, you are more than welcome. But if you want to save yourself some time, you can put this into your calculator exactly. So to make a fraction bar, you have alpha y equals, enter. I'm going to type in 15 for the top. I got 5 for the bottom, and then I do plus 7. And that gives me 10. And if 10 equals 10, that's a good answer. All right, let's look at number 2. So number 2, again, you want to draw your balance bar, label your coefficient and constant. So my coefficient is the negative 3 attached to my x, and my constant is the 3 that is with the x. Which one do we move first? All right, so we're going to move the plus 3 first. How do we move the plus 3 to the other side? By doing the opposite. We are going to subtract that 3 on both sides because, again, if you do it on one side, you got to do it on the other. And what's going to happen is these 3's are going to cancel. That negative 3x drops down because we didn't mess with it, equals, and then I'm going to check what negative 24 minus 3 is in my calculator, and I get a negative 27. Now I have to get rid of this negative 3x. It's a coefficient. So when I get rid of coefficients, my options are to multiply or divide to move the coefficient. Now in this one, negative 3x, there is some secret multiplication happening here between the negative 3 and the x. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Well, we're going to divide. And we show division in equations by using a fraction bar. So we divide that negative 3 away. You got to include the sign with it when you do your multiplying or dividing. The negative 3's cancel out, and we're left with just the x. Then I have to figure out what is negative 27 divided by negative 3, and I get a positive 9. So positive 9 is what I'm saying x equals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 9 and I'm going to place it into my equation by replacing this x here. So I'll have negative 3, replace the x with the number 9, plus 3 equals negative 24. I'm going to take this and type it into my calculator exactly. So I have negative 3 parentheses 9 plus 3, and I get negative 24. So this gives me negative 24 equals to negative 24. That is a good answer. So we found the correct x value. All right, so let's look at number 3. So we have to draw our balance bar first. Then we identify our constant, which in this case is a negative 6, and our coefficient is the 10. So we always get rid of our constant first. So if I see I have a minus 6, what would be the opposite? It would be adding by 6. These two cancel. We are left with the 10x equals, and then 24 plus 6 is 30. Then with my coefficient here, I have 10x, which means secret multiplication is happening. So I have 10 times x. I'm going to do the opposite of that. So I'll divide by 10. And this is where you know that for having a fraction bar, remember, means division. And this is the nice looking way to do it. We're left with just an x. 30 divided by 10, it gives me 3. So my x equals 3. Then all I have to do is replace my x with the 3. And again, since 10x means multiplication, I have to multiply that 3. Plug this exactly into my calculator. So negative 6 plus 10, and I get 24. So I'm left with 24 equals 24, and we're golden. That's good. Last problem. First, we're going to draw our balance bar. This 5 is my coefficient. I'm abbreviating. This 8 is my constant. Again, I'm abbreviating. You want to get rid of your constant first. If I'm subtracting 8, then I have to add 8 on both sides, which leaves me with these being canceled. I drop the 5x, and then 22 plus 8 gives me 30. This 5x means I'm multiplying, so to do the opposite, I'll divide that 5, and what you do on one side, you do on the other. These cancel. I'm left with x equals 6, because 30 divided by 5 is 6. Then we're going to check our work. So we got 22 equals 5 times the 6 we just found minus 8. Type this into your calculator exactly how you see it. So we have 5 parentheses 6 minus 8, and we get 22. 22 equals 22 is golden. All right, so if you understand what's happening in this video, go ahead and do your exit ticket and then get started on your homework. If you need a little bit more help, I will do these last few problems with you.